Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Here we are. We're at a regularly scheduled meeting of the Land Use Committee, Tuesday, March 24th. Just after 7, we're starting almost on time. I'm Andrea Kelly. I'm the chair of the committee. In the chamber tonight from the committee, we have Councillor Allison Leary from Ward 1, Councillor Tariq Lucas from Ward 2. I'm from Ward 3. Councillor Randy Block from Ward 4. Councillor Julie Irish from Ward 5, Councillor Sean Roach from Ward 6, Stephen Farrell from Ward 8, and maybe we'll see Brian Golden from Ward 7. From the city staff on Zoom, we have with us, well, actually here in the chamber, we have our clerk Cassidy Flynn, and on Zoom from the planning department, we have Zach Melcher, Kat Kemet, Sandria Berman, and from the law department, we have Jonah Temple. And I think that's all I see for now. And if more people arrive, I will mention it and greet them. We only have 2 items on our agenda tonight. The first one is number 118-26, a request to further extend non-conforming FAR and lot coverage at 199 Otis Street. We'll hear first from planning, and then we'll hear from the petitioner. Sandria, I think that's you, right?
That is me. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Just bear with me. We're going to play from the beginning. All right. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'm just going to minimize this. All right. So we have here petition 118-26 for 199 Otis Street, and it's requesting special permit site plan approval to construct an accessory building requiring relief for an increase in the nonconforming FAR and the nonconforming lot coverage. The subject property consists of an oversized 26,571 square foot lot in an SR1 district that's currently improved with a 2-story single-family dwelling that was constructed in 2001. The existing dwelling is non-conforming with respect to FAR and lot coverage, but is compliant with all other dimensional requirements, including setbacks, height, stories, and open space. The existing non-compliant FAR is 0.29, where up to 0.26 is allowed by right, and the existing lot coverage, non-conforming lot coverage is 15.1%, where up to 15% is allowed by right. The site is sloped with a difference in grading of approximately 20 feet from the low point along the frontage on Otis Street to the high point near the rear lot line, and it features several retaining walls in the rear. The property is located in West Newton in a residential area that predominantly consists of single-family homes and a mix of SR1, single residence 1 and single residence 2 zones. In terms of the zoning relief, the petitioner is seeking a special permit and site plan approval for the accessory building, and it requires relief to increase the non-conforming FAR and increase the non-conforming lot coverage. When considering this proposal, you should consider the proposed increase in nonconforming FAR is not substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconforming structure is to the neighborhood, and that the proposed accessory structure that further extends the nonconforming lot coverage is not substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconforming structure is to the neighborhood as well. In terms of planning's analysis, the relief requested is limited to extensions of nonconformities and meets all other required dimensional standards, including height, open space, setbacks, and stories as well. Though the FAR will increase from 0.29 to 0.30 and lot coverage will increase from 15.1% to 16.3%, there will only be 333 square feet added. The proposed location of the accessory building will be at the rear of the property behind the existing primary dwelling and shielded from street view. Existing trees along the rear and side lot lines also provide natural screening. Planning does advise the petitioner be aware of the locations of the existing trees along the rear and sides of the property, as this project will require a tree permit prior to the issuance of a building permit. Should be approved. No new retaining walls or modifications to the existing retaining walls on site are proposed. Given the slope topography of the site, planning advises that the petitioner confirm that no new retaining walls are needed for access to the accessory building. And finally, the request to increase existing nonconformities on site is minimal and will likely not substantially be more detrimental to the site than the existing conditions. And that concludes the planning presentation. I will stop sharing and transfer it back over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Berman. Is the owner or petitioner here on Zoom to speak to this project?
Yes, that's me, Chris Spearley. And the team from NEDC that has designed it is here as well.
Why don't you go ahead, and if you need to bring them in, go ahead. Oh, also, I'd like to welcome Counselor Julia Malik. He, not on the committee, but from Ward 3, has joined us on Zoom.
Great. Well, thank you,
Go ahead.
everyone, and thank you for considering the project. I'll be brief and just say my wife and I have lived here and raised our kids here for 23 years. They left. They're off in college in their 20s, and we want to stay. We both now increasingly work from home, and so the idea behind this was to put a small ADU in the middle of that space you just showed, so that we would have a home office to work in and a place as our kids are of, yeah, they'll soon we probably have grandkids, and another dwelling that we can use when we need it in the holidays when they come home. That's the reason. It's a relatively small space. The two neighbors that are most directly proximate on the map that you just presented have both signed letters of support. The two dwellings immediately behind us are actually owned by the same neighbor, and the one to our immediate left, as you looked at that drawing, has also signed a letter of support. And we've worked closely with NEDC on the design. I love trees. I love nature. The whole point is to kind of put this dwelling amongst those beautiful trees and to preserve them and add some more, so we can have a lovely place and hopefully live here the rest of our lives. That's why we're doing it.
Thank you. Does somebody from your design team want to speak or tell anything more that didn't get covered in the planning department presentation?
No, hi, this is Joe from NEDC. I think the planning department did cover all of the areas we're looking for relief. I did hear Chris just say that this would be partly an ADU, but it is not an ADU. It is an accessory
No.
structure. Just for clarity, for the record.
Sorry, I'm still learning.
Thank you. That is, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer that on behalf of the client.
Yeah, an ADU is usually primarily for residential use, and it sounded like this was primarily for a home office with the opportunity to have family members staying over when they came back. Is that right, Mr.?
That's exactly what it is, and I did not know the appropriate term, so I apologize.
It's okay. No harm done.
Yeah.
Thank you. We may come back to you if there are any questions from the public or from the committee for you, but let's see now if there are any members of the public who would like to ask questions or comment on this. Anyone on Zoom? I don't see anyone in the chamber. Any other friends or neighbors? We don't see any hands up, so let's take it into the committee. Committee member, Councilor Lucas, let's start with you.
Thank you, Chair. This project's in Ward 2. So I just want to remind everyone what our former colleague, then Councilor Laredo, would always say, this is why we have the special permit, so that folks can improve their homes. And this is a minimal project. I mean that with no offense at all. But it's a minimal project. You're just slightly increasing the FAR, slightly increasing the lot coverage. So I'm good with this, and seems like it's a good project. So when ready, I'll move to close the public hearing and move for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll come back to you. Councilor Leary.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I will agree with my colleague from Ward 2 that this is a very good project, and I'm glad to hear that people are just adjusting their homes to their way of living, and to have a home office seems very reasonable. So I have really no problems with it. I just want to confirm that there are no retaining walls being built as part of this project and no trees removed as part of this project. That's what I think I heard.
That's correct.
Yep. We
Okay.
actually already did have the tree warden's approval of a stamped permit for that component as well.
That's great. Thank you very much.
There were some questions raised about the grading, the change in the backyard, but you don't feel the need or desire to deal with like a structure or a retaining wall to accommodate any of that, right?
Currently, there is egress to an existing play structure up there that we would just maximize for the same egress to the structure that you can just walk up the grade.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Irish.
Thank you. Thank you. It seems like a thoughtful proposal and a fairly modest in scale, which I was just wondering if there is any consideration, because it's rather small, to have an attached ADU and keeping it within the same footprint.
Currently, we did explore that during our design process, but right where you're seeing this sort of placed up at the higher point of the property is the best place for the folks to get the best daylighting throughout the day. They'll get basically right in the morning all the way through the very end of the day, all year round, which is currently not possible in a lot of their current rooms that they would have placed in office or attached to the building. So, through vetting those options, this seemed like the best location.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you did consider it, but given solar orientation and light and air, you decided it would be better sited detached than attached.
It was a combination of that and the client's desire to put it amongst the trees. I think there's a large investment in the project to preserve all of these trees, and we're building, essentially completely surrounded by them. So to try and preserve every single tree is part of it, but to be amongst the trees is also more desired than being nice and tight to the house.
Like a tree house.
Yeah.
Any other committee members like to speak on this? If not, I'm going to go back to Counselor Lucas.
Move to close the public hearing.
All in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I didn't hear very many voices. I want to be sure we had everybody. Anyone abstaining? Okay, all set. And
I move to approve this special permit.
thank you, Counselor Lucas. Let's go back to the Planning Department for findings, conditions, and council order.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have here, hopefully everyone can see my screen. This is the draft order. And I'll begin with the findings here. Actually, I'll start right up here. Special permit site plan approval to allow construction of an accessory building that will further exceed the maximum floor area ratio and further exceed the non-conforming lot coverage. And the findings here under item 1, that the site is an appropriate location for the proposed accessory building that will result in an FAR of 0.30 or 0.26 is the maximum allowed, as it is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood. And that the accessory building is 1 story in height, subordinate to the height of the primary dwelling, and will be located behind the dwelling, mitigating the visual impact of the new building when viewed from the street. And under item 2, excuse me, the proposed increase in the non-conforming lot coverage is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure is to the neighborhood, because the new accessory building will be modest in size at 333 square feet and meets the requirements for other applicable dimensional standards, including setbacks, open space, and height. As we see here, I'll just ask the petitioner to confirm that this information on the screen is correct. The owner, the address of the owner as well, that the site will remain for single-family residential use, and the relief granted again is to extend the non-conforming FAR to 0.30 and to extend the non-conforming lot coverage to 16.3%. And finally here, we have the standard plan referencing condition under item 1, standard building permit condition under item 2, and finally the standard certificate of occupancy condition under item 3, inclusive of the as-built FAR. So I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen, but happy to pull this back up if anyone wants to take a peek at something again.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Berman. We have just now been joined by Councillor Brian Golden from Ward 7. Councillor Golden, I know you weren't here for the initial part, but if you had any questions or comments before we take a vote, of which you'll probably abstain, but if you had any thoughts from having looked at it ahead of time, I'd love to give you a chance to speak. No? Okay. Councillor Lucas.
Thank you. Ms. Berman, can you put that council order back up?
Absolutely. Bear with me as I go ahead and pull that back up. And is there a particular portion of the order you'd like me to reference on screen?
Go up. Go up. Stop.
All the way.
Oh, where are you? One where it said 199 Otis Street.
Down here? Are we seeing where the location is and the address of the owner?
It's in Ward 2.
Ah, thank you for catching that, Councillor Lucas. My apologies, but thank you for catching it.
We had several
Anything else?
word confusions this week on several of these projects. It is properly noted on our agenda, however, Councillor Lucas. No, thank you, Sandria. Anything else, Councillor Lucas? All set? Okay, we have a motion before us to approve. Let's take a roll call vote on that.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Farrell,
Aye.
Counselor Golden, Counselor Irish,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
Aye.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
Counselor Roach.
Aye.
The motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, everyone, and good luck with this project. As Councillor Leary said, we really do like to see sensitively designed, small impact ways of accommodating people staying in their homes as their life needs change. So we wish you good luck on this project and thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your support.
The second and last item tonight is number one, docket item 119-26, which is a request for a special permit to allow an oversized dormer extending a non-conforming 3.5-story structure and to further extend non-conforming FAR at 25-27 Lewis Street. Again, we'll hear from planning first.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and pull the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Melcher.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
The
we can.
presentation?
Perfect.
Great. Good evening. My name is Zach Melcher, Planning Associate for the City of Newton. I'm presenting petition number 119-26 for 2527 Lewis Street. A special permit to construct an oversized dormer, to extend non-conforming floor area ratio, and to alter a non-conforming 3.5-story building. The property is located in a multi-residence 1 district and is improved with a 2-family dwelling constructed in 1928. There's an SR2 district located across the street, and the property abuts Cabot Park as well. The surrounding properties are single and multi-family dwellings. For the relief, the first item is to request to allow an oversized dormer. According to the zoning ordinance, a dormer may not exceed 50% of the width of the widest interrupted roof plane, and the proposed dormer is 39.1 feet wide, which is 92.4% of the 42.3 foot wide roof plane. Also, the petitioner is seeking relief to alter a non-conforming 3.5-story building. The proposed dormer expands the existing half-story area in the attic from 123 square feet to 398 square feet. Although this area will remain a half-story, altering the existing nonconformity requires special permit relief. And finally, the petitioner is seeking relief to extend the nonconforming FAR. The proposed dormer increases the nonconforming FAR from 0.69 to 0.85, where 0.58 is the maximum allowed in MR1. And for the criteria, we have the site is an appropriate location for the oversized dormer, which extends the non-conforming 3.5-story building and FAR. The proposed oversized dormer as designed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. There will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. Access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved. And the proposed dormer that extends the non-conforming FAR is not substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming structure is to the neighborhood. Now for the analysis, the existing dwelling presents as 2.5 stories. It's considered 3.5 stories because the midpoint of the basement is higher than the average grade, but from the street level, it presents as 2.5. And the proposed FAR of 0.85 notably exceeds the maximum allowed of 0.58. Which can be attributed to the small lot size. This lot is one of the smallest on Lewis Street. And also because the midpoint is higher than the average grade, the first story is considered, or the basement is considered the first story and is therefore included in the FAR calculation. Additionally, the work proposed is entirely within the footprint of the existing building and does not increase the height of the dwelling or reduce the existing setbacks. And the proposed dormer extends across a significant portion of the side facade, but a very similar dormer exists on the abutting property. And that concludes the planning presentation. I'll go ahead and return my screen back to the committee.
Mr. Melcher, while you're still there, do you have an elevation that could show us that oversized dormer so we can see what that looks like?
Yes, if you just give me 1 second, I can go and pull that up for you.
Thank you. I think for us and for the public, looking at images of what the structure is going to appear like is really helpful rather than just verbiage sometimes. So that's why I'm asking for this particular one, given how much oversized this dormer is. It would be helpful for us to see it.
Yes, I'm just pulling it
Madam
up right
Chair.
now.
Counselor Roach.
Page 15 is the proposed of the architecture plans. And page 8 of the architecture plan shows the existing.
So I just pulled up the proposed architecture plans.
Thank you.
So
Counselor
that's,
Roach was just trying to
yeah,
help you out.
15 is page 15, Mr. Melcher, is the
Yeah.
proposed. Let's try to move this along.
I sometimes just try and let them
There
do
we
their
go.
job
Yeah.
first. So that's the proposed
Yes.
east elevation. And I think the plans that Councilor Roach was referring to were showing existing and proposed, so we can see the difference.
They're not set.
The petitioner is going to plan to show us this. Mr. Schweiderman, are you going to be doing a presentation that would show us some of the visuals for this? Or somebody from the owners?
Yeah, this is,
Yeah.
hello, this is Maria Bautler with Rosemont Design. I think David Giuliano, also with Rosemont Design, would like to speak to this, and we have
Hi.
a little presentation prepared.
We'll just move on to you then. Thank you very much. Okay. So is it going to be Maria or David?
First, David, would you allow him? I think he cannot unmute himself. Would you allow him to be unmuted?
You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Thank
And you should be allowed to share your screen too.
Okay,
Just introduce yourself, what your role is, where you're located, all that.
Yes, my name is David Giuliano with Rosemont Design. I'm joined by Maria Bodler from our office as well, and we're the architects representing the homeowner. So we were presented with this project, the dormer addition. We'll first just briefly share the site plan, then hand it over to Maria to take you through the elevation so we can understand that. As you'll see at the bottom of the screen, we can see Lewis Street, and the subject property here, number 27, is an existing two-family dwelling. So we are, our homeowner is resides in the second floor dwelling unit. They're really seeking habitable area in the attic level to accommodate an office, a guest bedroom for an occasional visit from their adult children, and just a living space that is separate from the second floor. We did try to do this in a way that would be under the 50% of the elevation of the roof line. We found that there's really no feasible way to fit to accommodate both the stair from the second floor, required head clearance within the habitable space, within the footprint, while only taking up 50% of that roof line. We were able to respect the 3-foot step back from the front elevation. We found that ultimately, it came down to, the difficulty in achieving compliance here is really associated with the size of the lot at just over 4,763 square feet, where 7,000 is required in an MR1 district. But we do feel that the project itself is, in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. I think the elevations and drawings that Maria is about to share with you will hopefully demonstrate that.
Yep, and I'm going to take over to present our plans.
Thank you. Mr. Giuliani, are you an architect?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Can you confirm that you see my screen?
There we go. Yes.
Perfect. I'm going to start just Zach Merker already like presented some of these, but I'm just going to go quickly ahead to do the same. What you see in front of you right now is the view from Lewis Street, the existing view. I'm also going to show you the site elevation where we're proposing to add the dormer, this is the current condition that you see on the screen right now. I would like to now quickly go through just the floor plans just to understand, so you understand the programming of the proposed design. This is the first floor, not really going to change much here. I'm just representing this so you can see that we're going up the stairs to the second floor where we're arriving here on the second floor. We added a new stair going up to the attic area, which brings us to the proposed design. We arrive into an area that opens with a door into an open space. In the back, we have a small bedroom and an office with a skylight. I will now, I also want to show just the roof plan. So you show the extents of the new roof dormer from the roof view. And here now I'm going forward to show you the proposed design. You'll see on the side here where we're adding the dormer up here. Previously, the roof line was down here, and we're adding this piece where we also have the material description. The site elevation is going to look like this, where we're adding the dormer. We try to like align the windows with the windows below. We're adding one window to the office to bring in more light. And lastly, I would like to show you a street view of how it looks right now, which you will see on the left side. This is how it looks right now. We added in the neighbor building with the existing dormer that they have, just for comparison. And then on the right side, you'll see the proposed dormer, 2527 Lewis Street, how it will look with the proposed design. And that would conclude my presentation. But if you have further questions, I'm happy to go back to any drawings.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if there are any members of the public who would like to make comments or ask questions about this. If you're on Zoom, you can just raise your hand or wave at us. I don't see any hands up. So we will go into the committee and see if committee members have comments or questions about this project. Councilor Leary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is in my ward, and I did swing by to take a look earlier today. And I feel that this is a very good project. And again, very similar to the last project we just reviewed. It allows people to adapt their homes to their needs. I couldn't help but notice the neighbor has the exact same dormer, and they can wave to each other now when they get that other dormer in. It is a tight lot and it's a shared driveway, but I don't think that is impactful at all. And I have no problems with the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Leary. Any other land use committee members have questions or comments about this? Councilor Roach.
Thank you. What is the current size of the residence and what will the new size be in square feet?
David or Maria, that's for you, I think. Current
Yeah.
existing square footage of the unit and the proposed.
I will have to look up.
Yes, please do.
information.
Thank you. That's a good thing for us to know.
Madam Chair, this is Kat Kemet. I'm happy to share what's on their FAR worksheet while they're pulling that up. So the existing building is 3,327 square feet. Proposed is 4,069.18 square feet.
Thank you.
So Ms. Kemet, is that, so I looked at that, is that square footage equally divided, the existing and the existing, is that equally divided between the two units and then the additional 742 solely for the new unit? Just trying to get an idea of what the new unit's going to be. Is it going to be around 2,000 square feet, 2,200?
Let me follow up on question asked by Councilor Roach. Is the square footage that you just quoted us, Ms. Kemet, for the entire first and second floor units, or just for the second floor unit that's asking for this special permit?
It's the
square-
entire structure.
Oh, I missed something. So right now it says that it's 1109 and 1109 top and bottom. So then this is going to be, the proposed is going to be, yeah, this is not clear because
So
the
there's 1109 on 3 stories essentially right now. So it's times 3.
okay.
Right.
Because mass below first story, it's the same for that.
Okay, so this is roughly going to be an under 2,000 square foot unit when it's all done.
Correct.
Okay. I think that's it.
Thank you, Councilor Roach. Anyone else have any comments? Councilor Lucas.
Thank you. So I agree with everything that Councilor Leary said, with the exception of that, this not being my ward, but I think this is a good project and happy to support it when the time comes. Thanks.
Councilor Roach, you again?
Yes, me again. I did have a question, but now that I have the information, I want to make a comment. Normally, I am not favorably disposed towards projects that exceed the FAR, and especially when they already exceed the FAR. But it's clear to me here that the FAR number is largely a function of the size of the existing lot. And given the size of the home, I have no problem with the project, the size of it, and it exceeding the FAR.
Thank you, Councilor Roach. Anyone else? I unusually have some comments that aren't in alignment with some that have been made by my colleagues, which I'll just make for the record. I think that a jump from a maximum FAR of 0.58 to 0.85 is a very big jump. And I understand that that's because the lot is small, but that's the ratio that we use. Smaller lots tend to have smaller units on them. I think that is a really big jump in FAR that causes me some concern. I think that an increase in the roof plane coverage from the allowed 50% to 90, almost 92.5 is also enormous. I have to say this is a subjective thing that we don't really use as criteria, but I'm not a fan of those shed dormers that look like nothing. I don't think it's an attractive feature. I understand that it gives more usable room, but I don't love it. I think sometimes on a small lot, and again, this is one of the waivers they're looking for, that this lot should be a minimum of 7,000 square feet, and it's just 4,763. Those are the parameters that we try and work within. And I think for me, these asks are all a lot. And I will actually be voting against this project for those reasons. If there are not any other comments, we'll go back to planning for the findings and conditions. Oh, did someone else have their hand up? Are you pointing to someone? Oh, true, it's true. Councilor Block.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate your comments. It is hard to it's hard to look at the FAR change and not ask the very questions which you did ask. And that occurred to me as I looked at this structure this afternoon on a visit. But the determination which I keep reminding myself we have to make is set forth in the special permit guidelines. And the primary one is, will this have a negative impact on the neighborhood? And I look at what was obviously a twin house once upon a time to the left of this house. And it has essentially this exact same dormer installed. So it's hard for me to conclude that this would have a negative effect on the neighborhood. And And for that reason, I will be voting in favor of it. But thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Counselor Block. I think you make really good points, and I sort of wrestled with that too. I don't know the history of how or why that dormer on the neighboring house was built, but one thing I often think about is just because something was done one way that we may not think is positive doesn't mean we should do it again. So I do think that actually the impact will be small. It's not like there's going to be a whole nother unit, more people here, more cars. It's going to be just expanded space. Councillor Maliki, I see your hand up.
Thank you. Thank you. Obviously not on the committee, but I guess I would like to agree with all of the comments of Councillor Kelly. Looking at this, and looking at the third floor plan, which is the justification for needing the 90% long dormer, it seems like there's more space being added than is necessary to achieve the goal. There's already a spare bedroom on the second floor. And then the offices seem to be, it's 2 offices, not just one, and they could be smaller. I do have a question. Seeing the, I guess it was basically the street view of the house next door with the similarly sloped dormer, do we know that that is as long as the one on this house? Like taking up 90% of the length, or is it the same profile but shorter?
Proportionally or in terms of actual feet? Because it looked like that structure itself was smaller to me, so it may be shorter. Ms. Berman or Mr. Melcher, do you know the answer to that question?
I don't have the specifics on the width of the dormer on the adjacent property, but it appeared that it looked similar to the one that was proposed.
Yeah, because I was wondering if that has a special permit on it, how that one got approved, but because looking at that one's actually practically, it looks like that building is on the property line practically. And these are, they're practically flat roofs. That just does not seem like a great idea to me. But that's, I guess, up to the structural engineers. But I guess it's, what gets me is it's almost like adding half a third floor, because it's so long. It's more like a additional floor than a dormer when it gets to be 90%. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maliki. Let's go back to Leary, Block. Councillor Roach, did you have your hand up again too, or not? No, okay. Leary and then Block.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to respond to some of our discussion that has been going on. And I think there's certainly some merit in having those discussions. We do have a great deal of discretion here on the Land Use Committee, but I do try and be as open as possible and I look at a lot of different things, including how this home would look from the street. And since it's off to the side, I don't think it would be much of an impact in terms of the view from the street. Obviously, it's a very similar dormer on the house next door, and they would be actually facing each other. Given that it is a small lot, that also made my decision that that's one of the reasons why the FAR was higher. And also the basement being above grade also added to it as well. So I took those under consideration. And I try not to look at design so much, which is, hard. I don't think that's really our purview. And I think people make people's lives, they make a lot of, their decisions are often very personal and focused on their specific family. And I'm not going to comment on the reasons for why they needed the more space, but that's how I came to my decision to approve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leary. So to your point, which I actually agree with, and I tried to preface my subjective comments about the appearances, that that's not really one of the criteria we use, is also besides the other waivers that they're seeking in terms of FAR, lot size, frontage, lot area. It is a 3.5-story building for the reason that was pointed out because of the basement and how that's calculated. But there are a lot of waivers being asked here for this. Let's just be sure we understand that. Councillor Block.
Thank you, Chair. This is a pre-existing non-conforming 3.5-story house. They're not adding another story. It already is a 3.5-story house. So, and I find myself in an unusual situation of not agreeing with Councillor Maliki. It doesn't happen very often. But I think that, as Councillor Leary said, these are personal decisions, and whether something should be a little bigger or a little smaller, I don't believe that's what's in front of us. What's in front of us is, will this have an adverse impact on the neighborhood? And aesthetically, it won't. Traffic-wise, it won't. Car-wise, I mean, parking-wise, it won't. There just won't be a negative impact on the neighborhood, in my opinion. If I'm in the minority, so be it. But I will be voting in favor.
I don't think you're in the minority. I think I'm in the minority, but I just wanted to go on the record with some of my concerns. But thank you for speaking up about it. You and I are in opposite positions on this than we might have been on another similar project, given the waivers being asked for. So that's another interesting twist for us tonight. Any other comments from committee members? Otherwise, let's come back to Councillor Leary. We'll close the public hearing.
Yes, motion to close the public hearing.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's everyone. And
Motion to approve.
thank you. Now we can go back to Mr. Melcher.
Okay. I have the draft council order for 25-27 Lewis Street,
Great.
which
thank
is a special permit to allow an oversized dormer extending a non-conforming 3.5-story structure and floor area ratio. I'll go through the findings here. The specific site is an appropriate location for the oversized dormer, which extends the non-conforming 3.5-story building and FAR because the work proposed is within the existing footprint of the building. The oversized dormer as designed will not adversely affect the neighborhood because the proposed project allows for livable space without increasing the height of the dwelling or reducing existing setbacks. There will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians, as the proposed dormer will not require any changes to parking or circulation on or around the site. Access to the site over streets is appropriate for the types and numbers of vehicles involved, as no changes are proposed which impact pedestrian or vehicular access. The proposed dormer that extends the non-conforming FAR from 0.69 to 0.85, where 0.58 is allowed by right, is consistent with and not in derogation of the size, scale, and design of other structures in the neighborhood, as there are comparably sized buildings nearby that are also located on smaller lots. And then underneath, we have information about the petitioner and about the relief being granted. And then we have the standard plan referencing condition that includes the plot plan and the architectural plans. Then we have the standard building permit condition and the standard certificate of occupancy condition. And that is the draft council order.
Thank you, Mr. Melcher. We're ready to take a vote on it.
Counselor Block,
Aye.
Counselor Farrell,
A wholehearted yes.
Counselor Golden,
Aye.
Counselor Irish,
Aye.
Counselor Kelly,
No.
Counselor Leary,
Aye.
Counselor Lucas,
Aye.
Counselor Roach.
Aye.
The motion passes 7-1.
That's a really strong vote. So good luck with the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.